It's Heather. Thanks for taking the time to join me for another quick chat. I know I've been doing these a couple of weeks in a row, but I just wanted to quickly jump in and talk to you guys about a really important part of trauma work that I think it's really confusing because it can be so nuanced and complicated. Now, admittedly, this is a conversation I started having with all of you in a different podcast episode. And then I ended up deleting it from the chat because it started to take me down a rabbit hole that was going to get us way too far off topic. So rather than going sideways in another episode or taking away from a daughter's story in one of our usual Wednesday episodes, I opted to just spend some time and chat with you now. Okay, so diving in, you guys hear me say pretty often that it's important that you all learn to listen to and trust your bodies. You hear me place value with all of you on the importance of trusting yourselves, and then how trusting yourself and listening to your body and connecting to your feelings, all of those three things together put you in wise mind. However, you also, if we're being honest, sometimes even in the same conversation, hear me talking about trauma brain and how trauma brain puts you survivors into a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. You heard me talking about fawning earlier this week. And sometimes because of that, our bodies lie to us and we can't believe everything our bodies are trying to tell us. And you can see what an absolute positively mess of a cluster this is. It's really a confusing maze. And what I'm hoping to do is use this next little bit of time together to help you understand the dynamics that are at play so you can learn to differentiate if you are in wise mind or if you are in trauma brain when your body is reacting to something. So I want to break it down. Trauma brain is a survival response that activates that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode. When trauma brain ignites and is triggered, you might feel a variety of intense emotional, physical reactions. And sometimes we know those reactions are going to be out of proportion to the situation that's in front of you. Your boss, for example, might ask you to be sure that you get your project in by 4 o'clock so she can review it before the end of the day. And trauma brain might turn that into you being criticized, that she isn't happy with your work product or that you're at risk of being fired. But wise mind in that situation might realize she's setting you up for success by giving herself time to review your work before it's seen by a larger audience. My brain might interpret that and make you believe that she doesn't think you're good enough and that you can't be trusted, where wise mind might know that she herself worries about being perfect, or your wise mind might tell you that she's working to get out of work on time because she has a kid in daycare. Trauma brain can react at the slightest criticism or at the thought of criticism as if it is a 3-alarm fire, whereas wise mind might be able to help you recall that your boss has that kid in daycare and needs to get out of work on time for that reason. So many of you are used to scanning for risks, for changes, and for shifts in mood. And all of those things are going to be felt by you as bad, as threats to your security. So you jump on things and react quickly when there actually isn't always a crisis and nothing is particularly wrong. When your body is on fire, it all feels true. It all feels bad, and telling yourself to calm down makes it worse because it's insulting to your trauma brain to consider calming down when a fire needs to be put out. See how that happens? Trauma brain puts you in this place of anticipating danger, mistrusting situations, and mistrusting the people around you. So you doubt that people are who they say they are and that they actually do care about you the way that they say they care about you. Like I said, cluster. And this doesn't happen because you're stupid, because you're foolish or naive. It happens because at some point, that acute awareness of everything around you saved you. It had your back, it saved your life. But sometimes, after a lifetime of trauma, it's really hard for your bodies to find an off switch. These trauma brain reactions are physical. You experience heightened anxiety, muscle tension, hypervigilance. Your body just might not be reacting accurately to the current reality. Your body might be reacting to past trauma rather than what's in front of you in the moment. Now, recently, I introduced you all to Melissa, and she shared her borderline personality disorder diagnosis. One of the ways that I describe borderline personality is that your brain is constantly stuck with the trauma brain switch on. She reacts to people and situations as if abandonment is always happening, as if the crisis is always happening, and as if she will be screwed if she doesn't take care and protect herself. The kind of therapy that Melissa and others with her struggles do is called dialectical behavioral therapy. And it's a form of therapy that's designed to get people out of trauma brain and into wise mind. In fact, the phrase wise mind is rooted in dialectical behavioral therapy. That's sort of where I got it from. Now, wise mind works to balance the emotion of the moment with the rational mind and logic of the moment. And where those two things meet, we call wise mind. And we want you in wise mind when you're making decisions. You want and need that balance between what you think and what you feel and what you know. That's the balance you're striving for so that your feelings don't dictate your behavior. You'll gain confidence, self awareness, and that's how you start to have a better relationship with yourself when you can make decisions from a more balanced place instead of immediately going with that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. Now, you have all been through so much, and none of you have had just one solitary bad thing happen to you. Your lives have been affected by numerous episodes and patterns of abuse and neglect. So, of course, your bodies react with stranger danger energy at times of change or of transition. Because for the longest time in your lives, those things were dangerous. You aren't just making things up. Your bodies aren't getting frayed at the edges for no reason. For a while, all of that shit was real. And sometimes in your present days, that shit is still real, depending on who is still in your life and what circumstances you find yourself in with them. So, because of this, I want to work with you on ways of recognizing when trauma brain might be taking over and ways you can get yourselves into wise mind. I want to help you feel in control of yourselves, but also I do still want to keep this chat on the shorter side. So if this is a conversation that's relevant to where you're at right now and to the struggles you're finding yourselves in right now, this would be a really good time to pause our chat and grab a notebook or open your phone app and take notes, because I'm not really going to go into a deep dive on these things. You might need to do your own research, get curious with yourselves about what strategies might be the most helpful for you, and you might need to Google the different strategies for more concrete examples for yourselves. The best chance you have of getting clear with the situation that's in front of you so that you can determine if you're reacting to a present threat or to a past one is to be able to get yourselves grounded. Being in wise mind isn't about being in this permanent state, telling yourselves all the time that there's never anything to worry about. It's about being able to name the worries and the concerns you have from a place of calm and centeredness. And that means getting grounded. And that's why this is important. Now, grounded, it's a word I use a lot too. Now, grounded is a word that I use a lot. And what we're talking about when I'm encouraging you to ground yourselves is to be able to access the present moment. Grounding yourself can be as easy as taking some deep breaths. You might try something called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. This is a good one to take notes on because it means paying attention to your five senses. Things you can see, taste, touch, hear, smell. If you can feel your body responding in a surge before reacting with, an outburst of something you say or do, you can name five things that you see in your present current environment. You might be able to name the items in a room you're in or name things you see outside. You might name the colors or the details of the physical space you're in. Then you can name four things you can touch. You might be touching your clothes, your feet on the ground, the chair you're sitting on, but four things that you can touch. Then take a moment and be still and notice three things you can hear in your immediate environment. That might be something like bird song if you're lucky, traffic if you're not, people talking. Make note of the things you're hearing in the environment you're currently in. Then you see where we're going with this one, right? Try noticing two different smells in your environment. I coach clients when they can't smell anything in their particular room or the environment where they're in to try to think of a smell that evokes a positive memory from an earlier time. Then try to grab a quick bite of something or a drink of something that you can taste and notice all of the nuance in that bite or in that sip, whether or not you taste something cold, something sweet, something salty. You know what I'm talking about here. Things you can taste. Paying attention to the things in your five senses will help you ground yourselves into the present day moment. And now, sometimes, along with some grounding and the deep breathing, you might find a third technique that can be helpful. And I call this one, well, I don't call it, it is called body scanning. Now, I encourage all of you to use as much compassion as you can when you are mentally scanning your bodies. When you're body scanning, what you're doing here is you're noticing the different parts of your body that are holding tension or some form of discomfort. Bonus points if you can notice your bodies and what they're feeling without beating the shit out of yourselves for your bodies. Okay, off the soapbox there. I encourage these body scans because once you get used to doing them and the data they offer you, you'll be able to tell the difference between trauma responses and actual physical needs you might have in the moment. If you can notice that your neck is always tense or you always have a headache, that will help you pay attention to that and seek resolution. I'm moving kind of quick here, so thanks for sticking with me. But something else you can work on with yourselves is reality checking your thoughts. For this one, I really do like pen to paper, but I encourage you when you're feeling triggered to just write down all of your thoughts and all of your feelings, no matter what they are, even if they're all trauma brain thoughts or negative thoughts or critical thoughts. Get them all out, dump them. No judgment, no story attached. Just get them out. Then walk away. Walk around the block, call a friend, take a shower, take a beat, or two or three, and then revisit that list when you start to feel calmer. Dumping the list gets it out of your head, and coming back to it after you've calmed down and taken a beat allows you to better consider whether or not your reaction was coming from trauma brain or from wise mind. Another idea I tend to like in these scenarios is to figure out what your personal wise mind questions are. I hope you kept that pen and paper handy because you're going to want to write these down too. What are your go to questions going to be to help you determine if you are reacting from trauma brain and things in the past or from the present day scenario? Here are 5 questions I often encourage clients to consider when I'm having this conversation with them. What is the immediate threat, and is it real or perceived? Next, what evidence do I have that supports or challenges my current thoughts and feelings? This next wise mind question I really like a lot. How would I advise a friend in this situation? I like this because most of us go easier on our friends and we give them the benefit of the doubt. We also tend to want more for them sometimes than we want for ourselves, and we also want them to tolerate less bullshit. So it's easier to call a situation for our friends than ourselves. So if you can get yourselves thinking like that, you will have an easier time getting into wise mind because you know what you want for your friend and what your friend should put up with and what they shouldn't put up with. That will help you get in wise mind. This next one is a bit of a challenge sometimes, but it's clear and it's direct and it gets you focused. What outcome do I want from this situation and how can I achieve it? This gets you focused on your goals and on what you want for yourself going forward rather than only being focused on your in the moment reaction. It's a prompt that helps you slow down and start to think. Now, back in my residential days when I was working with kids, I used to have these big giant stop signs. And when kids were freaking out, I would literally hold them up in a way to get them to stop and think. These questions are going to help you do the same thing. Get out of that quick, in the moment reaction and then get you considering and focused on what is actually happening, on what you want and who you want to be, and how you want to move through the moment that's in front of you. These questions can do the trick most of the time, but if you're still feeling heat in your body, you can really direct yourselves and ask yourselves, am I responding based on past experiences or am I responding to what's happening right now? I know these questions can feel tedious and like you're in school, but they slow you down and they get you to stop and think. And stopping and thinking brings you to wise mind. Lastly, we want you to keep building the tools for your toolbox. As you collect wins, as you find tools and strategies that work to calm you down, and as you connect more and more with Wise Mind, keep an actual physical list somewhere of all the things that have worked for you, things that have helped you slow down, things that have helped you get grounded, things that have gotten you into Wise Mind, things that have helped you to be and feel successful. Don't just carry these things in your heads. Write them down. Keep that list accessible so that next time you're freaking out and spinning, you don't have to do the work to think of the things. You will be able to have them right in your hand at that list. This conversation I'm having with you, I want you to know it's personal to me too, because here's the thing. I've been talking to you guys for weeks now about group. And as much as I really, really want that for all of us, it's also really been challenging me quite a bit. It's bringing up all of the times over the past 7 years before I came to Daughters NPD and Mother Mayhem that I tried and failed publicly in front of others at a lot of different things. And my head doesn't have like this easiest time of just constantly staying in this build it, Heather, and they will come space. It's really hard not to go down the rabbit hole of all the times I thought something was going to work and then it just didn't. And then how all of that failure made me think about myself and feel about myself. So, as I'm putting all of this out there for you guys in recent weeks, I have had to be working with myself on these very same things too. I am not going to tell you that I think that my business failure is the same thing as your childhood trauma, but I am going to tell you that my brain has had a harder time walking down the sunnier side of the street. It's had a harder time leaning into optimism and to letting go of the outcome and to accepting, things as they are. So I thought it would be helpful if I took a second here and shared some of the things that have been helping me. First, I have mantras that I repeat to myself. Right now, I've been attached to the idea that I want this more than I'm afraid of it. And, build it and they will come. Even though that scares the shit out of me, it also motivates me. So I lean into that one a little bit too. I have a handful of others, but I don't need to take you down that rabbit hole. I also tend to do pretty well when I say the crazy things and the crazy spirals that are going on in my head out loud. I can sometimes catch them and hear how ridiculous I sound. So I'll talk to my husband or I'll talk to a friend or even just put it out in a journal entry or something, just the things I'm worried about, the things that are on my mind. And sometimes just getting it out of my head and, into a different space gets it out of my heart and out of this place that makes me want to react, run away, hide, or play small. I remind myself too that it's okay if group isn't what people need because I'm already helping you guys with the podcast. I took access to all the ways that I track membership numbers off of my phone. So as you guys have been signing up, initially it started with the wait list. When I asked you guys if you wanted to be on the wait list, I was like obsessively checking, like, oh, did people sign up? Do they like this? Do they think it's a good idea? And that was taking me nowhere good fast. So everything that tells me how many people have signed up has been removed from my phone. So if I want to see those numbers and get excited about those numbers or tune into those numbers, I have to go out of my way and I have to turn on my desktop. And getting out of that constant refresh mode has really helped me stay centered and calm. If you've got something going on and you're like attached to your phone for the answer, get it off your phone, my friends. Just like I told you guys to collect a list of the things that work that get you back into wise mind, I have a list of my mantras, a list of the reminders of ways of getting centered, and things that have helped me on my phone. So if I start to spin out, get discouraged, or feel knocked down, I have this list that can get me back on track with a whole lot less drama and histrionics. So make your toolbox list and update it regularly. Now, it would be awesome if something like this could just be one and done. I tell you how to differentiate between trauma brain and wise mind, and you could just be set free. But we know it doesn't work that way. We are battling years of conditioning as we work to help you heal from your trauma. Distinguishing between trauma brain and wise mind is probably going to stay challenging for you for a while now. It's hard too when you're doing it all alone. It's a lot to navigate. But here's the thing, right? You just finished hearing me talk about it. You don't have to do it alone. That's why I did Tuesday group. That's why I built the darn thing. I'm working really hard to make it a supportive space for all of you. And I know that the difference between trauma brain and wise mind, well, there are going to be topics that come up and you can all navigate it together instead of as isolated islands. If you're looking for a community where you can be heard, supported, and understood by other people who get it, I'd really love for you to think about joining us. We're meeting every Tuesday, and you can come as often as your schedule and your budget allow. I'm going to keep a link for that in the show notes to sign up. And we're going to work together on helping you build Wise Mind one step at a time. You've got this. You're a member of a community of women around the world who are in this with you. And I, for sure, am in it with you too. Bye for now.